That last episode was a lot of information. That was a doozy. So we went through 8 steps to take every payday for your budget routine. And if you missed that, you might want to go back and listen to it because hopefully it will be super helpful for you to be able to stay on track with your money and just reduce all that money stress because money stress is never fun. But I figured today it was probably a good idea to go with something a little more light and airy, like the pile of dishes. So this actually came up in our Facebook community. And you can join that community at facebook.com/groups/the routine advantage community. But in there, we were talking about different things that are a little daunting. And one of the things that came up was dishes. It is very stressful, especially if you have a big family. Now, our current household is only 2 people. It's just my husband and I. So you might hear that and think, oh, well, she has absolutely no idea what I deal with dishes. But I do because I am the third oldest of a family of 11 children. So I totally understand the amount of dishes that pile up and how quickly they pile up. And I still think that these habits will help you. And if you can also share them with your family and you can all get on the same page, you won't have to worry about dishes, at least not as much as you are now. It just becomes a much less daunting task. And it just makes it a lot easier to stay on top of dishes rather than letting them pile up so that you have an entire counter full of crusty dishes and pots and pans that just look like they need to soak for 3 days. So we want to avoid that. Let's go through with 5 habits to help you keep up with dishes. Are you ready to stop the chaos, the stress, the overwhelm that's filling your life? I'm Renae Matt, and together you and I are going to build simple routines that are going to change your life. When you put these habits into practice, you're going to be able to organize your life in a way where you can be there for your family, pay off your debt, save money, your house can stay organized, you don't have to stress about what's for dinner, and you still get time for yourself. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to the Routine Advantage Podcast. So we're going to make this super easy, and I'm just going to dive right in and start giving you the tips because if you're dealing with a lot of dishes, you probably don't want to be listening to me because you've got a pile of dishes to go to. So we're going to go through number 1 is to start your day with an empty dishwasher or an empty sink. And this can be a challenging one, especially if you feel like you are really busy right away in the morning. But there are different ways around this. You can either make sure that this is a nightly habit so that you wake up to an empty dishwasher or sink, or you can do it as part of your morning routine or before or after your morning routine. For myself, I have found that I actually really enjoy because we start our dishwasher in the evening after dinner. I don't want to deal with it at night if I don't have to. So one of the practices that I have done is to add it to my morning routine section where when I'm coming down and I'm waiting for my coffee to brew, I am unloading the dishwasher right away. So that way before I get settled into my morning routine or anything like that, I've already got the dishwasher unloaded. So as the day begins, we can immediately start loading it as we use dishes. This has helped a ton in reducing the pileup of dishes. And if you don't have a dishwasher, that is okay. Most of, I think, our childhood, we kept kind of going back and forth. Sometimes we would have a dishwasher, sometimes we wouldn't. And then when we got an apartment, sometimes we would use a dishwasher, sometimes we wouldn't. And the last apartment that we had didn't even have a dishwasher. So we were always washing by hand. So I know the struggle both ways. And if you don't have a dishwasher at this point, I would still make sure that you are putting away any dishes. I will tell you that I am not a big fan of drying dishes as soon as they're washed and putting them away just because I'm a little too lazy for that, I think. But I'm much more likely to wash the dishes and then let them air dry. And as soon as they're dry, I will put them away. But it kind of splits up that task. And for me, if I know I can just let them air dry, I'm much more likely to just wash them right away than wait because I start to push it off until I have more of a block of time, just because it seems a little more daunting to wash and then dry and then put away and then, get the wet towel, and it's just an excuse. I just know myself, and I'm much more likely to wash them if I know I can just let them air dry. And that's always been the case. I was like that when I was a kid too. If we had to dry them and put them away, I always balked at my mom because I never wanted to do it. So if she let us air dry them, then it was much easier to just get dishes done. So I don't know why. Maybe it's because we had just a pile. It was a massive pile of dishes, and it was a lot. It was a big chore to have to put them all away and to have to dry them all, and you'd have to go through, like, multiple, like, flour sack towels just to get them all dry because your towel would just be sopping wet by the time you got done with the all the dishes, and yeah, so, like, trauma as a child, if you come from a big family, you will always remember having to do dishes, just FYI. So, we'll move on to the number 2 habit, or the second habit, is when you are using dishes, instead of just putting it by the sink or putting it wherever you go, always rinse your dishes immediately after use. This helps a ton in reducing, like I was talking about, like that those crusty dishes. Like, that's the worst, and then it's so hard to clean them, and it just makes the whole process much harder than it needs to be. So if you rinse them, it can get all those scraps of food right away. Even if you're not washing them immediately, by rinsing them right away, it makes washing so much easier. So rinse them immediately after use. Now, it goes to habit 3, which kind of ties into this one, is to load your dishwasher as you go. So, what you would want to do is make sure that as soon as you use it, you're rinsing it and then you're loading it right into the dishwasher because you already unloaded it that morning. You can immediately put it into the dishwasher. Now, if you don't have a dishwasher, this is a good time to make sure they're rinsed and kind of give yourself a guideline. You're going to have to decide if you want to immediately wash as you use, or if you want to let them pile up a little bit, but then wash at a certain point. So, when we had an apartment, we wouldn't immediately wash them. However, we would, like, rinse them and let them stack, but then if it went outside of the sink, then we knew we had to wash right away, because if it started getting onto the counter where dishes started piling up onto the counter, then it was going to be a big challenge and it was super annoying. Or, like, if you're putting them beside the sink so then you don't have to take them out of the sink just to put them back in the sink, that's another option where maybe you have them beside the sink, and then once they, get to a certain point on the counter, it's time to do a quick wash and catch up on everything. And you might have to do this multiple times throughout the day, but I guarantee you, doing a small amount multiple times a day is much easier and less stressful than having this massive pile of dishes that you have to catch up on at the end of the day when you're super tired. So that is number 3, is to just make sure you load the dishwasher as you go or wash periodically throughout the day. And like I said, you can let them air dry. You don't have to dry them and put them away right away. It is super easy to just quickly put some dishes away and wash them up throughout the day. And then number 4 is to always wash dishes while you're cooking. So, this one, if you're going to go into the kitchen to cook or make a snack or prepare a meal or do any meal prep, whatever you're doing in the kitchen, if you're going to be using dishes, get your sink full of hot soapy water and start cooking, but wash as you go. Don't just drop things in there and, let them sit, and then it gets to that, cold, mucky water that is just sitting there forever and it's disgusting because that has happened as well. So you want to make sure it's a nice hot soapy sink full of water as you're cooking. Wash your dishes as you're going. Again, let them air dry if you need to. And if you like drying and putting them away, do that by all means, but don't be afraid to just let them air dry if you need to. So if as you're cooking, wash as you go or load the dishwasher as you go, making sure you rinse them and put them in the dishwasher. And it helps keep up with this. So that is a really good habit to have, is to just constantly be washing as you go, especially at dinner time, because you end dinner with way less dishes. And then dinner cleanup is super easy. which goes into my fifth habit, is to make sure that you are washing your dishes, wiping your counters, and closing out your kitchen immediately after dinner or meals. So this is making sure that when you are finished with dinner, that you're not sitting around and relaxing too long before you have to get up and do dinner. So for Tony and I, we have a really bad habit of eating dinner on the couch. And we usually have that time to, like, watch a show or whatever we're doing rather than eating at our dining room table. I wish we ate at our dining room table more often, but we just don't. So we have a tendency to be watching a show while we're eating dinner, and it is very easy to just let the dishes sit there and keep watching the show. And then by the time you are kind of into the show and you're relaxing, it's really hard to get up and go and wash the dishes and clean up the kitchen now that it's, later in the evening and you're already relaxed. You're kind of like toning down and getting ready for bed, like that kind of thing. So what we have done is no matter where we are in our show, as soon as we're done eating, we pause the TV, and Tony's really good about this, and it makes me so thankful. But we pause the TV right away and we bring our dishes to the kitchen. Now, because we have the habit of washing dishes as we're cooking, we have very little dishes to wash or very little pans to wash, anything like that, because we have already washed them as we went through this process. So once we are done with dinner, before we relax, we immediately get up, bring our dishes in, and then we close out the kitchen. So we are washing the rest of the dishes, loading up the rest of the dishwasher, running the dishwasher, and then making sure counters are wiped down and the whole kitchen is cleaned up for the evening. We might go in a little bit later and get a snack or something like that. And if depending on the time that we are doing this dinner wrap up, then sometimes we will wait if the dishwasher isn't like stuffed full, then and there's a little bit of room, then sometimes we'll wait and Tony will just start it before we go to bed. To that way, if we do have any snacks or we go grab a glass of water or something, then we can just pop that in the dishwasher so that it runs in that same cycle and we aren't having, just random dishes out through the night. But that is a really easy way that we have found that works really well for us. And then because it has ran that evening or overnight or however it is, it's a perfect time for me to get up for my morning routine because all of those dishes are clean. And then I can go into my process of unloading the dishwasher and starting the day with an empty dishwasher. So these are habits that we have found work super, super well for us. I know they would work well for larger families as well. And I know it's a challenge just to keep up on with two of us. And so having this in a big family or no matter what size family you have, just making these small little tweaks and building these habits into your day allows you to just keep up on these bigger tasks so that they're not so daunting. And if you have kids that are helping you with dishes, this is a really easy way to do it because then they don't have these huge chores to, wash this massive load of dishes because they can just do it throughout the day and it's much easier to do. So hopefully you enjoyed this episode and kind of thinking about these. And if you haven't done these already, try and, plug one into your day and see how it goes, and then plug in another one the next day and see how it goes. And maybe you will find that all five of these work really well for you and your family as well. So, a really quick recap of those five habits to help you keep up with dishes is number one, start your day with an empty dishwasher or an empty sink. Make sure everything is put away and fresh, ready for the day. Number two, always rinse your dishes immediately after use. Number three, load the dishwasher as you go throughout the day. As soon as you use something, rinse it, put it in the dishwasher, or make sure you have a process. If you don't have a dishwasher, make sure you have a process on how many dishes or amount of dishes that you will let collect before it's time to do a quick wash and let them air dry or put them away, however your process is. But make sure that you are doing this as you go and do it multiple times throughout the day because it's easier to do small amounts more often than it is to do a large amount. And it's much more daunting to do a large amount at once. Number 4 is to wash your dishes while you're cooking. Get that big sink of soapy water that's like a tongue twister. Get that big sink of soapy water ready and then just wash as you go. And number 5 is to make sure that you are washing your dishes, wiping your counters, and closing out your kitchen immediately after your dinner or meals so that you are done and you can relax afterwards. So have fun, enjoy dishes. I know with having these habits built into our day, it not only is less daunting, but I actually kind of enjoy dishes and it's not as big of a chore. It's a little bit more of a relaxing process to just, clean up afterwards and it actually feels nice. And I never thought I would be saying that I actually enjoy washing dishes, but for some reason I do. And I think that these 5 habits have helped me do that because it doesn't seem like that bigger task, kind of like laundry where we're not spending all day Saturday doing laundry anymore. If you do little bits throughout the week, it just helps take off that big daunting task. And it's the exact same thing with dishes. It's a lot easier if you do a little bit throughout the day. So hopefully that was helpful. I would love to hear if you instill any of these habits into your life and how it helps you, if it makes dishes a little bit less daunting for you and your family. And you can do that by joining us in our Facebook community at facebook.com/groups/the routine advantage community. You can come in there, tell me all about it, or you can actually leave a SpeakPipe review for me too, and you can leave a testimonial. You can tell me how you're loving the show, and it's actually a little voicemail that you can leave and tell me all about it, which I think is super cool. I would love to hear from you. And you can do that by going to speakpipe.com/the routine advantage podcast. Did you love that episode or learn something useful? If so, would you do me a huge favor? My goal is to grow this podcast and help as many women as I can break free from the overwhelm so they can truly enjoy their life. The best way for me to do this is for you to leave a 5-star written review on your podcast app and to share this episode with a friend or in your Instagram stories. I appreciate you being here. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you on the next episode. Take care.